Hello, hello. Decided to try something new. I'm going to be doing a live stream of the prototyping process for a new prototype that I'm working on. Oh, I hear feedback. Hang on. Clear that off there. There we go. So, a little rookie mistake. I've never live streamed before, so this is going to be interesting. Let's see here. So, a little background here. This is kind of an overview of the current state of the mock-ups that are going to be turned into this prototype. And this comes from a couple previous prototypes that I was working on. The original prototype looked something like this. So this is something I did in Pixate a while back. And this is something, because it's run in Pixate, it has to be done directly on the phone itself. So I didn't get a cursor, a mouse cursor on the screen. Oh, my face is all in the way here. I didn't get a, let me just start that over again for you. Rewind a second. Put this back here, put that back there, rewind. Yeah, so because this was done through Pixate, there's no ability to see a mouse cursor on the screen while you're running the prototype. So this is something, again, run on the phone, recorded through QuickTime, so we can see the playback in 60 frames a second, but we don't see a mouse cursor, which is something that I wanted for this new version. Also, the style had changed a little bit. Things like the header here are different, so on and so forth. Plus, doing this type of a prototype in Pixate is really the wrong tool for the job. I was able to get good results here, but this is the result of about 8 hours of work, which is just not comfortable when you're needing to go update it. So, furthermore, when we finished that up, we started working on a new prototype here, which you see right here. So I'll bring this back full screen. When you get this option, if you were to mash on the button, up pops a new picker interface. When you scroll through, you get a full list of things here. And again, this is an older version of this picker interface at this point. And the prototype only doesn't support scrolling through this feed, doesn't have any live updating content. It was just more a proof of concept for this one particular screen. And that's all well and good. I'm looking to create a prototype that includes a bit more at this point. So I'm going through and doing that now. So let's see if I close out of this, come back to here. So the narrative here is that somebody would be in a conversation, the first message would pop up, I'd like to place an order. Reply comes back, sure thing, is this order for delivery or pickup? Bubble pops in, second bubble pops in. They choose order for delivery, that zips over to the side. Perfect, what would you like? View menu button shows up, and then when you mash on that, up comes the scrollable menu. Again, the style of this has changed a little bit. They can mash on any one of these list items here, and it'll take them to a detail view for that item. If they select this item, they now have a little counter here at the bottom that shows what the current number of items is. If they go back to the menu, they see that reflected here in this list. So the little Rails path is they pop this thing open, they choose peach and goat cheese. Peach and goat cheese shows up. They say select this item. This appears. They return to menu. They scroll down to beverages. They tap to select cucumber and ginger lime. They confirm order, and then it says I'd like one peach and goat cheese and one cucumber ginger lime fresca. So simple as that. So let's see here. So I also have an artboard here where I'm starting to collect miscellaneous assets that I may need to be broken out from the way they're currently laid out here on the individual artboards. Incidentally, I have this black artboard back here, not artboard, but this black rectangle sitting in the background here, because when you have this layer hidden, the content looks like it's kissing the edge here. And that's actually not what it looks like when it's on the device screen, because you have that black border that surrounds the display. it actually feels more like it's floating on a black field, at least a little bit. So making this black background here helps reflect what it looks like more what it looks like on a device. So let's see here, block that layer back up. So there we are. So I'm just going through at this point, and I've got my artboards here just numbered and stacked in order. And I've started going through the process of naming these layers and marking them for export. I still have to go back through and mark them at a 2x, so that's a little bit tedious, but that's the next step. And then once I've gone through and I've marked all these guys, we'll have them in a folder. I'm going to bring them into Pixate. I'm going to drop them there. And right now the chat room says there's 4 people here, so feel free to say hi. Like I say, this is brand new for me, so I'm more than happy to know who I'm talking to. So yeah, let's see here. Going through the process right now, marking these guys for export. Kind of wish there was an easier way to do this. To say, marking all at 2x. I don't know if that's going to work. Selecting them like that seems to have worked. Okay. So evidently you can just select all the layers and then choose whatever export level you want. Let's see here. And right here, right now I've got the background as a blurred image. I may get fancy with that later. In Pixate, it doesn't allow you to do a live blur filter. So the way to accomplish this in Pixate is to take a flat image of whatever layer it is that you, whatever state it is that you want to blur, and then fade that against a blurred version of the same state. However, in Quartz Composer, you can do a live blur, and now with the new version of Pixate that's available, you can use a video. So the thinking is, after I get some of the basic functionality in there, I'm going to do it first with a flat image, and then I'm going to see if I can go back in with Quartz Composer, create that video version, export it, and then drop it in place. So that should look more realistic. The reason it looks more realistic is when you fade between a crisp image and a blurred image, while the crisp image is fading out, even if it's at like 10%, you can still see crisp details on top of the fuzzy version, which doesn't look the same as it does on an actual device when it's being blurred live. When it starts blurring live, when it goes from 100% crisp, even 2% blurred, you lose all that crisp detail immediately. Everything turns blurred from the very start. So it's one of those little nuanced things that I'm going to see if I can do a little bit later on. All right. And, kicking the tires here on the Twitch live stream. And it looks like there's 11 viewers now, so hooray, hooray. So it should be fun. Once we get through this tedious business of marking these guys for export and then doing so. Let's see. So I might get some music going here. I'm not sure if this is going to be problematic, but we're going to have to give it a shot. So if the music is too loud, let me know. Let's see how it works. Or too quiet, as the case may be. Let's see here. So, let's see, I've got this header here. I try to name all the layers something that I'm going to recognize later. It doesn't have to be perfect. The goal here isn't to create something that's extremely verbose. It's just something that I'm going to recognize later when I'm dropping it into Principle. So I was calling these list header. List header. Selected items. None selected. All right. this one would be blue commit button list blue button disabled, and then this is the close button down here. I have it sitting in this little invisible frame. I'm not going to export this like rectangle, but this is more for spacing. So I took a normal size button, I centered this icon inside it, and then I gave it padding above and below that's equal, so it feels comfortable down the bottom. Alright, so this is a big symbol here. If I jump to that real quick, I've got my symbols here. I don't know if this is how other people use symbols, but I take a primitive, usually a couple different types of primitive, depending on what the type of project is. In this case, it's there's a one-liner, so it's just the header. And this is a two-liner, so the layout changes. Given the two-liner here pushes this price down. So I have these two primitives here, and then I go through and I create a symbol that is composed of all those symbols. And so I have two sections here. I've got one which is just the salads, and the second section which is the beverages. And so I do those separately, and I swap out the symbols as necessary. And then I create another symbol which is a nested set of those symbols. So it's kind of symbol heavy. I just absolutely love the fact that you can now nest symbols. The fact that you can swap them out easily makes things a lot easier here. So this is the complete scrollable list with the salads. This is a salad header symbol, which is over here, cell table divider symbol. Salads, the beverages, the other items here. And then I overlaid some other things here, like this is a rectangle that has an inner shadow along the top edge. I don't know if you can see that too well, but this is for the table view. I'm trying to talk with my hands here. This is you have this little gap here in table lists where the line starts when the content does, here on the right. So here on the left-hand side, there's this, at the start and end of the list, there's a line that runs the whole list, the whole length. So I just superimpose that as a rectangle at the top and bottom of both these sections for completeness sake. So there we go. All right, so let's see. This guy ready. These guys, I think this needs to be marked for 2x. And then this guy here, 2x already. This header already. Hang on, this is not marked yet. And this footer here needs to be like that. Right. And then I think I'm going to do this just as a flat image. There's not a lot of interactivity that needs to happen on this screen. This screen is going to be fully scrollable. It's going to be a sticky header. And so on, like you saw back here in this prototype right here, where the header here sticks to the top. So I'm going to recreate that. But this screen here, if there was more content, it'd be scrollable, but this is going to be flat. So seeing comments coming in via Facebook. Let me see what we have. Oh, it's my friend Nikki. Hi. Okay. So, right here, let's just make this a flat group. I'm going to do this individually as separately. So, what I'm picturing is this being a full scrollable list. I want to talk with my hands. I don't know if this is going to work at all, but effectively, this is a big list that's scrollable, and there's the close button that sits at the bottom. And then when you mash on any one of the list items, the whole thing pans over, the bottom item fades out, the new content, it's like we mash the thing, the new content fades in, it slides in from the right-hand side, and the close button fades into the return to menu button, and when you mash return to menu, it fades back to the close button on the bottom. So that's the picture. We'll see if it works. Let's see, so this is one big flat item. Detail view. For lack of a better name. This is return to menu. And then mark both of these guys for export, 2x. And then this guy is the same thing as before, but we now have this content here at the bottom. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can have it fade in a big white rectangle over that content, in this case, because it's so clean and simple. Or you can just replace the entire artboard here, or you can fade this out as an individual item. In this case, I think I'm just going to have it fade in as a white rectangle over the top of everything else. So I'm just going to make this a big. I think that's a little too tall. Let's make this. So there we go. So I have this big white block out now that's going to fade in over the top of this other one. So I copy this over here. You see it's going to fade in over the top of the other one. That way we can keep one artboard, and then we just drop the content on top of it. Keeps it easy. Keeps it simple. And I do, incidentally, I like doing a full story out like this in Sketch beforehand. I find it makes it a little bit easier. For me, as I'm going through the process of making the prototype, I can see very, very cleanly, okay, it's supposed to have this state, which moves into this state, which moves into this state. Now, that's not reflective of the actual assets that you're going to export in the end. It's more for yourself to be able to block things out and discover any issues sooner. The last thing you want is to be in prototyping mode, elbows deep in, one direction that you've taken it, and then discover that there's actually an issue that needs to be solved back in the design phase. So, that's why we make mockups for developers. Effectively, you're the developer of sorts, so to speak, of this prototype. So again, I come up with all these different individual states, and then I create the individual assets based on what makes the most sense for the prototype. So usually I'll create a separate file for that. I'll have my main working mocks, and then I'll create a separate document which is just meant for the prototype, where it's taking the existing mockups and just slicing and dicing them. But this one's straightforward enough. I don't think that's going to be necessary here. So let's see, number picker. So in the first pass for this, I'm going to do it as a very basic thing where you mash on the select this item, and then this just appears over the top. Moving forward, I'm going to maybe have a button animation for this. So when you click the button, the background turns blue, the text turns white, for example. This appears. If you were to click on the plus button, for example, the number would move up, animate up from 1 to 2 to 3, so on. And if you minus, obviously it goes down to 1, then you minus again, and it goes back to the select this item. But again, start with what's minimum viable, right? You aim for what you can deliver easiest first, and then you layer on the additional complexity as time goes on, if you've got time for that. So, it's more important to have something that you can demonstrate than to have something that's perfect, and then you move toward perfection from there. So let's see here. So I've got this guy here, and this is the item selected overlay. Again, the names here don't matter so much. It's really for your own reference as you're working on it. So the other thing we have here is as you scroll through the list, these headers are sticky headers. So because we're going to be scrolling the list far enough down that salads will be stuck to the header, we'll need to have a separate header for that. I don't think we're ever going to scroll down far enough for beverages to get stuck to the top. In fact, I don't know that we've got, it looks like we do, given the size of the symbol here, have enough content for the beverages to hit the header. But when we do this, we're in control of the prototype in this example. We're creating a video from it. So we're going to make sure we don't scroll this past that point. That way we don't have to deal with that complexity. If we wanted to put this in somebody's hands later on, we would either create that beverages sticky header and go through the work of doing that, or we would simply omit the sticky header altogether. Again, to save us that work, to bring us to a point where we can put it in their hands. And then when it goes to a developer, you say, oh, and by the way, these are sticky headers, and they behave the same way any other sticky header behaves in an iOS app. Oftentimes, developers will get a sticky header for free, or that type of a system element for free, so you don't have to go through the hard work of building it yourself. if it's something you know that's going to be easy for a developer to pick up later on. But here, this is more for demonstration purposes, so I'm going to go through that for this header. And then once you say confirm order, I might do this last step here where it drops back to the chat stream. I don't think it's strictly speaking necessary for this one, but again, I like to know kind of big picture, what would it look like should I want to do that. I don't also think it's going to be that difficult to put it in, so I think this is, if this is a V1 does not include it, this would be more of V1.5. So it's more of a fast follow type thing. So I think if we just make this, let's see, list item selected. We're going to keep this simple as well. This item in the list indicator, because up above, once you select this salad, you're going to have this indicated in the scrollable list as well. To save us the complexity, we're not going to have the person order multiple salads. We're going to make it evident that these buttons do what you think they do, the plus, the minus. But we're not going to dig into that functionality. I like thinking about it as as being hand wavy, right? There's this button over here, and you can imagine what that does, and that saves you all the work of actually having to build out what that does. Because with a prototype, most of the time what you're trying to do is not sell, but communicate an idea. You're trying to paint a picture of what all this functionality is. For example, jasmine green iced tea, chai iced tea, watermelon cilantro fresca. There are no mock-ups for any of those screens, and they're not necessary, because when you flick through this list, after seeing one example, your mind fills in the gaps of, oh, I see how the rest of this works. All right, getting on my soapbox here. Okay, I think we're pretty much done with the assets. I just have to export things now. I do have these guys over here, make sure they're at 2x. Then this is the empty header. It's on 1x now, 2x. Okay, I think that's it. Just quickly save. Save your work, kids. Export. I don't normally use the export button up here in the corner, so I'm hopeful this is going to work as expected. We'll see. But this should let me export all without having to go artboard by artboard. Give me errors. What are these errors or warnings? Oh, the name of this slice conflicts with another slice. I think that's fine because I think I named them all identically, as in I named them on one artboard and then copied them to another artboard before I started the live stream. So that should be fine. If we run into problems, we know what the problem is. So say export and then give me a destination. All right. So my desktop here, I'm actually going to make, well, hang on. I'm going to go to, I think it's going to be here. Then, let's make a folder for this. Are there prototypes? What is that prototypes? There we go. Integrations menu, is that where I've got this? I think so. Okay, make a new folder called exports. Usually what I'll do is I'll have a working folder where I have all my sketch documents. Then I'll make a subfolder there called prototypes, and then inside of prototypes I'll have a folder called exports or assets. And then I'll dump all the assets into there as one big folder. And then the main folder, I'll put all the working files for whatever prototyping tool I'm using. So in this case, again, we're using Principal. So exports, and then dump them in there. And we wait while it does this thing, and we'll pop open that folder on this other monitor, and then bring it over. It looks like I was using a different folder. I'll move things over. Alright, so. Yeah, I should have just seen where we're saving these things. It's not that way. That's what I needed. There we go. So I do have everything exported here. Oh, scroll is in its own subfolder because this is both a blessing and a curse of Sketch. When you name something with a slash in it, I'm not sure where that is actually, but when you name something that has a slash in it, that drops it in this subfolder, which again, for better or worse. In this case, for worse, because I don't want it to be there. Oh, and this is just for a subfolder in the symbols page, which is not what I need here. So I should have everything here at 2x, which is lovely. That's perfect. Yeah, some assets were on layers beneath that we don't even use anymore. So I got more than I need, which is, preferable in this case. Oh, hang on. Oh, it's giving me full artboards here in 1x, which is nothing I need. So I'm just going to nix off all those layers. I don't need them. Then, last thing I forgot is this blurred background here. So I'm just going to create a clone of this layer. Then nix everything that's on top. I've got this background layer locked. I want it to be blurred into black, and this has got black background, so I'm just going to export the whole thing at 2x, and I'm just going to drag and copy this off into this other folder on my other screen. There we go. So, there we go. At 2x, big blurry version. I don't think that's going to work, because this is a smaller, it's a scaled down version. So the effect is, if I pop back to that earlier prototype, if I hit cancel here, watch what happens to this up here when I mash this button. Keep your eye up here. You see it fades as it falls back, and then when I hit cancel, it fades and comes back up, right? It's a little bit weird there. I'm going to try it this way. Okay. Publish the prototype. But yeah, you see how it goes. It moves back, so I think I need a smaller version of it that's scaled, which is obnoxious. I might just take the full-size version of it and blur it, and then when I say scale it down, whatever percentage I tell it to scale down, I'll tell the other one to scale down by the same. That might work. Okay, I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I'm hoping to be able to replace it with the video version with a live blur later, which should be nice. The only real risk with that, I think, is that with Quartz Composer, sometimes you'll get a color shift. I'm not sure what causes that color shift. So it will really depend on whether or not that color shift is overly noticeable when we try making an export of that in video mode. So let's see here. I'm going to unlock that layer back there. Unlock that Memojama. I think I'm just going to export it at this size. I go back and forth. Loaded layer. So what I'm doing here is I'm choosing the slice tool, hitting S, clicking whatever layer I want to export. In this case, because it has, I don't know if you can see this, I don't know if it zooms in for you when I do this, but because it's got this blurred background that fades beyond the border here, clicking the slice tool here selects all the way out to the edges of the blur, which is kind of nice actually. All we want. So I'm going to drag off this blurred layer, which is marked as 1x and 2x. I wish there was a way, if anybody knows, if there's a way to export things at 2x by default. I don't think I ever saw it in preferences, but it's really kind of obnoxious to have to change that every single time. So you can change the way you flatten bitmaps from 1x to at 2x. I've done that already, but I don't see it here. I'm running on an iMac with Retina display, so I've got I'm doing everything in Retina on this screen as I go. All right, so let's see. I'm going to drop this guy over here with the other assets file I've got just for the sake of tidiness, and line things up just because I like that. All right, this should be good. Big old bucket of assets sitting right here, which is lovely. I'm going to bring them over to here. I don't think I'm going to be able to rescue too much of this. I might be able to. It's hard to say. This is text. So I'm going to create a duplicate of this. We're going to see if we can't rescue some of the work that's been done earlier. I don't know, it's going to be worth it. Yeah, scrap that. I'm going to do it from scratch. We're going to keep this guy. in the background. Okay, new document. This new document I'm going to dump into here, this containing folder, right? Exports, all my exports, and then this folder right here. So I'm going to say save. It's going to say which folder. This one, perfect. All right, save as Sweet Green Prototype 01. Okay, so I've got this new prototype here waiting, and I'm just going to close this out because I don't really need this. Well, oh, I guess that brings up another point. In the Pixate prototype, when I was working on it, when you get these effects, these guys bounce in from the bottom. They bounce in one at a time. Play at smooth speed, right? They bounce in 1, 2, 3. When you mash on them, I'm going to go a little bit slower when I scroll through this. Hopefully, easier said than done. When you mash on it, what's the effect here? So if someone taps, what's that? When you tap, it immediately switches it to, I use arrow keys, might be easier. When you tap on it, it's going to immediately switch it to the speech bubble version, and then it's going to move into place, and this top section is going to come sliding down, right? Just to scroll through that a little faster, right? So again, using the arrow keys, you touch this, and it comes to the side, but it doesn't just slide to the side. It has a spring on the motion, and it has a spring on the side. So you see it gets bigger, and then drops in place like that with a little bounce at the end, right? That is, I think, going to be difficult to do in principle. So what I might end up doing, again, not as part of V1, but as part of a V1.5 or V2, is go back through and create an animation of this speech bubble effectively growing in size and shrinking in a fixed position, and then exporting that as a video. And then taking that exported video and animating that to the side with a spring on it. That way you get the grow shrink animation and the lateral motion with the spring animation and the same thing. So we'll see. It might not even be necessary. Principle might let us do both animations at the same time. But we'll be taking a look. So let's see. Alrighty. So we're going to start with that first state. So what I do when I make these animations for these ding, 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 ding coming in, I like to start with the last state as a flat image, and then work backwards from there. Because everything's going to fall, ultimately, once you've chosen the options, they're going to be sitting on the screen in this sort of a format. So that sort of serves as your template. In the first version, it's just a truncated version of that, right? First state, right? It's a truncated version. You see the first message. You don't see the stuff underneath it yet. Someone sends in a new message. The second bubble pops in. Someone sends the next message. The third bubble pops in, right? So things slide into place generally, gradually, I should say. So I'm going to export all of these as a flat image, and then I'm going to use that as sort of the template to move backwards from. So actually, I might just do the whole. How do we do this? Like this. Make it the whole width. Snapping a little bit aggressively right now. There we go. So I've got this content here, 10 pixels there. I'm not sure how tall it is, how high above it is, but as long as we got clearance, we're good. So do like that, make this 2x, make sure it's got background color, 2x. Right, and we're going to work backwards from that, like I said. So bring you back to here, other window, other screen rather. Draw this engine over here. I didn't name it yet. I'll do that real quick. Message templates. Message templates. Which again isn't the most descriptive, but it works for me. We're moving faster, people. Okay, so start by dropping in some of this content. Here's my message templates. The scale is at 1 because we exported this at 2x it shows up at double size. I'm on a Retina screen here, so I want to make the scale 0.5. I'm going to do that with all the assets. I drop them on here. So there you go. There's a template I put on there, which again we're working backward from. And now I just need to fill in the gaps. So I'm going to bring this mock-up to my other monitor over here. That way I can see what it's supposed to look like as I'm building it out. Oh, I don't need this anymore. Alright. I'm going to minimize this guy in the background because I think we need it for a while. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Okay, so we need the header, do we not? Here. You know, sometimes the rounding can get a little bit wrong. Like, you gotta really watch like your X position, your Y position. Why is my X position at -188? That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm against this edge here. I wonder if that's the halfway point. Yeah, it doesn't make too much sense to me, but a lot. No keyboard shortcuts for these, unfortunately. I can sign some from doing this more than I am tonight, but I think we'll be fine for the time being. We'll drag this out of the window. We're going to put spacing. It's a header. I need a keyboard. Let's keyboard. And then we need the what's called messaging bar. I don't know if this thing has a name. Messaging bar is a name that we sort of settled on when working on another project a while back. But yeah, if this thing has a name, I don't know it. More comments coming in from the Facebooks. It's Matthew. He's up in Sydney. Hi, Matthew. All right. So let's see here. Also, I'm trying to stream this at 60 frames a second. I have no idea what the quality is like. So, you know, speak up. Let me know. Let's see. So, got the state here. I'd like to miss or yada yada yada. Anything different? Anything missing? I'm gonna drop this back here so you can see what I'm looking at in the background there, and then this guy here. So right, we've got this header message with the messaging bar. We've got the keyboard down here at the bottom. Something that I'm not doing right now that I would want to do if I was, again, for like a V2, is if you look back at this video here, you notice there's a blinking cursor. So the perfectionist in me wants to add that in, because when you don't have a blinking cursor, this looks like a dead text field. And it's not something that you think actively about, consciously about. It's more of you get the feeling when the cursor is blinking, when you have it on a device, like in your hand, that, oh, I could just start typing right now. So those are the type of little nuances that I would follow up on, like with a V2, to capture some more of that detail. All right, so to move backwards from here, we want, I like to place an order to be the initial state. It's on the bottom layer, like it should be. We're going to move this guy down to the bottom, and I'm going to get in there. There we go. So it's kissing the bottom edge right now. I'd like it to have, I think, a 10 pixel or a 15 pixel. I'm not sure what we settled on. Border here for the bottom. Now, the thing you notice is, if I make this a 15, so move from here, it's 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? This is 15 pixels. You start to see this other message from the conversation start to appear. So what I will do, before I get started on this, get ahead of myself, is I will make this a group, and every one of these other messages will have a gray message, or a gray rectangle sitting on top of it. Rather, there's a white rectangle sitting on top of it. That way I can fade them out as the new messages come in. So when you see a new message come in, it fades in as it animates out, which is kind of cool. So we do this. I don't think there's a more graceful way. Let's see here. Let's do this and then do this. I have an audience. I have a very shy audience. Hi, shy audience. All right. So okay, gray, gray, gray. Let's make this white. All right. So now we've got these white layers sitting over the top. I'm going to knock back the opacity on them so that I can see what these layers are supposed to be. I'm going to make it fully opaque later, but I'm going to name these white fade out layers. That way I can quickly see which one's which and actually order them stacked vertically in the correct order. So this, 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 this. This one is Sure Thing Fader. I should call it Fader Sure Thing, right? Now we can see they're all faders. Fader. Order for delivery. This one won't even fade, ultimately. But it will need to have the same physical distance. Right. So there you go. Fader Sure Thing. Yeah. So these guys are all sitting here, stacked on top. I'm going to make them all perfectly opaque. Bingo. Now these get grouped with that. So they're all in one big group. There you go. Looks like my message when you don't have a period. Then let's see here. So group. I'm going to call this. Let's see. Message. What I call the sublayer here. Message templates. Messages with faders. So descriptive. So pop this guy down here. Again, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So you don't see the peak from the other messages now. The preview here, what it looks like on the device screen, that seems about right. So